Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Ask Huda. I'm your host, Jamil Rashid, and I'd like to welcome back again Sheikh Asim bin Luqman Al-Hakeem. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for being with us today.
My pleasure to be here.
Okay, let's remind you about this episode. It's one of those episodes we're going to go through all those email questions of yours, those hundreds that we get regularly every week. So please don't call us today. If you want to send us an email, send it to ask@huda.tv. Sheikh, I've got a couple of questions from Brother Muhammad. One of them is quite interesting because it's a situation that many brothers and sisters find themselves in. Is that they want to learn Quran, they want to learn Hadith, and Arabic is not their first language. He said, what sort of advice can you give us on getting to know the Quran better and getting to memorize both the Quran and Hadith?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi al-Ameen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. It is a noble thing for a Muslim to learn the Quran, and it's a duty. But it is not as easy as a lot may think. Nevertheless, Allah Azza wa Jal has made the Quran easy to be memorized and to be recited, as stated in Surah Al-Qamar. And I believe that the easiest way to do this is to on and on listen to the Quran as much as you can. If you know how to read Arabic, that would help you a lot, because then you can listen to the Quran and follow by reading the text itself. If you cannot, then try to focus yourself on a portion and listen to that portion on and on and on until you memorize it by heart. And preferably it is from the end of the Quran, the small chapters. If you memorize them, recite them in your prayer, night prayer, your 5 obligatory prayer, alhamdulillah, this would stick into your mind and you will progress and move on to other chapters. But I believe that learning Arabic is also a determining factor. If you can learn how to read and write, this would shorten the period for you to memorize portions of the Quran.
Jazakallah khair. The brother's final question is regarding visiting graves. Say he doesn't want to go to his home country and visit his father's grave. Is he allowed to visit, and what are the restrictions?
The Prophet ﷺ told us in an authentic hadith where the narrator said that the Prophet once cried. And we asked him, why do you cry, O Prophet of Allah? He told them that I've requested Allah to visit my mother's grave, and He allowed me to do this. And I requested Allah to seek His forgiveness for her, and He denied me from this. This means that the Prophet ﷺ was granted the permission to visit his mother's grave, who was not a Muslim. And this definitely means that we may visit the graves of our deceased who are Muslims. So the answer to this brother would be, yes, it is permissible for him to visit the grave of his father, providing that he does not seek the blessing of this engraved person. When we visit graves, we benefit the dead. We do not benefit ourselves. So we don't go to the graves and say, oh Allah, forgive me, oh Allah, grant me rizq, oh Allah, do this for me. Because this is not a place for supplication or for dua. We go to the graves and we seek Allah's forgiveness to the engraved person, the person who is dead. So we say that, oh Allah, forgive our dead, oh Allah, grant them mercy, oh Allah, expand their graves so that it would be a room to a chamber of paradise, and so on.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Brother Arif's got a question regarding gold. He says, I know that wearing gold for men is haram, it's not allowed in Islam. What about gold which is plated? So items which have gold plating, rolled gold, like he says. These days, eyeglasses, watches, other items that you hold upon you, a pen maybe, for example, has gold plating upon it. Does this count as gold that you're wearing, Sheikh?
Well, you have to go to the goldsmith and ask him this question. If the goldsmith tells you that if you scratch the surface of this pen and you get like a gram, half a gram of gold, then this is gold and it's not permissible for you to use or wear. But if the goldsmith tells you that this is just the color, it does not have to do anything with the metal of gold, then the answer would be it's permissible to use.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, I've got a question here from Brother Siraj ad-Din. Somebody misses their Maghrib prayer and goes to the Isha Salah, and taking your advice from before, they should have the intention for Maghrib prayer while praying the Isha. But the Maghrib is shorter than Isha. So what do they do in this regard, Shaykh?
Well, if this is the case, scholars say that if a person misses Maghrib prayer, if he misses the Maghrib prayer for a legitimate reason, and we know that the legitimate reasons are few, and one of them is sleeping. So if a person sleeps before sunset and he wakes up immediately when the Iqamah for Isha is being called, this is a scenario. The second scenario is a person forgot to pray. He heard the adhan of Maghrib, he said, I'm going to pray now, and he got a phone call, or he was engaged in something and he completely forgot it. He did not miss it intentionally. So if this is the case, then yes, he may pray Maghrib after the adhan of Isha. There's no problem. But now the problem lies with the conflict of the format of Maghrib and the format of Isha, because Maghrib is 3 rak'ahs and Isha is 4 rak'ahs. So how is he going to go about this situation? Some scholars say that if this is the case and he is unable to pray Maghrib before Isha, he has to pray Maghrib now, and the congregation is praying Isha prayer. So some scholars say that he should join them with the intention of praying Maghrib. He prays the first and second rak'ah with the Imam, and he prays the third rak'ah as well with the Imam. But when the Imam stands up for the fourth rak'ah, he sits down in the tashahhud position and offers his tashahhud until the Imam finishes his fourth rak'ah, sits for the tashahhud, gives salam, then he gives salam with him. By this, he hit 2 birds with 1 stone. He prayed Maghrib before Isha, and he prayed with the congregation. Other scholars say if he was cornered, as in this situation, that he could not pray Maghrib, and it was the Iqamah for Isha, then he may join them for Isha prayer, and afterwards he may pray Maghrib, and the order would be forgiven. Skipping and changing Isha before Maghrib would be forgiven because he was cornered and he had no other choice, and inshallah both are accepted.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Adnan has a question. He's one of our younger viewers. He says, my mother and father don't let me watch cartoons, kids cartoons, or kids movies. They say it's not allowed in Islam. He says, but I'm mad at this because I don't see anything wrong with these cartoons. Can you advise me, Sheikh? What do I do?
Well, first of all, I advise you to obey your parents, because they are your gateway to paradise. And you have to be confident. You have to be sure that they don't want to torture you. It's not in them. They want the best and only the very best for you. You are their flesh and blood. They would like always to choose the very best for you. And that is why, because it is their conviction, this is what they believe, that cartoons would not benefit you, it would harm you. And definitely children's movies would do the same. And because you're young, I can't elaborate a little bit more, but I don't think that you're young in your intellect. I believe that you're young in your age, but you're definitely smart and Allah's obedient in your intellect. I'll explain that to you in brief. Cartoons make children addicted to them. If you watch 1 hour of cartoons, you would always like to have a second one. And if you watch 2 hours and it's time to turn off the TV, you would like another 2 hours. And it goes on and endlessly, because it is an addiction. It puts you in a state of fantasy. It makes you feel like you are the hero who is hitting, killing, doing things that normal people do not do. And that is a negative and bad effect on children and on adults as well. Secondly, these cartoons include music, and music in Islam is forbidden. Thirdly, these movies that are focused and they're targeting the children usually have un-Islamic messages in them. And any Muslim adult would know this. And I'm not saying this because I'm a father. By the way, I do also deprive my children from watching cartoons, except few cartoons that are aired on Islamic channels, like Al-Majd, for example. I give them the right to watch this because usually it is monitored Islamically and it does not include music, and it has no high rate of violence. But to tell you the truth, I'm not saying this because I'm a father. I'm telling you this because I was a child myself. I remember when I was 12 years old, I used to cry my head off because my father does not want to buy me a dirt bike. And I used to write memoirs about this, saying, my father doesn't want to do this. I was a child. And my father is so stingy, he has lots of money and he doesn't want to buy me a bike like everybody else. 6 or 7 years later, I praised this decision of my father. Had he bought me that bike, I wouldn't probably be living today or sitting on my chair, because at the time I was so reckless. I used to drive so fast and do reckless things. I didn't know what was good for me. Now, as a parent and as a father and as a grown-up man, I realize that his decision was the best decision to be taken. And now I praise that and I ask Allah Azza wa Jal for forgiveness for him. And believe me, when parents choose something for their children, they're not doing this to torture them or to be happy when they are crying. They're doing this for their own good and benefit.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Sister Nada has a question regarding something which many people speak about, cures for people who are ill, Islamic cures. She says, I read once that if you read Surah Yasin 40 times and blow this into a glass of water and then give this to the sick person, this is like a shifa, a cure for that person. Is this so? And are there actually cures Islamically for sick people from Islam, from the Quran and Sunnah?
Well, reciting Surah Yasin 40 times is an innovation. Why not 41? So that we would have odd numbers. And why not 39? So whoever says that 40 times cures illnesses, you have to provide us with the evidence from the Quran or from the Sunnah. And there isn't any. Therefore, this is an innovation. As the second part of the question, can we have remedies, cures from reciting the Quran? The answer definitely is yes. Because Allah stated in the Quran that it is a healing. It has a healing power. Whether mentally or physically. And in the hadith, the most authentic hadith in Al-Bukhari and elsewhere, where a group of the companions were traveling and they ran out of food. So they went to this non-Muslim tribe on their way and they asked them for food, and they denied them. They told them, go away. So they went. And on the same time, the leader of this tribe, he was bitten by a snake or by a scorpion or whatever. He was stung. And he fell sick. So these idol worshippers went to the Muslims, to the companions, and said, well, our leader is sick. Does any one of you have a ruqyah, a remedy, something, that heals him? So one of the companions said, yes, I have his cure with the will of Allah, but we asked you for food and you didn't give us. So I will not help him unless you give us something to eat. And they've agreed on a number of sheep. So the companion went to the man and he recited only Fatiha. the first chapter of the Quran is saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim until the end, and blew on him. And the companion is saying that I did this for 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden the man just stood up as nothing happened to him. The man was ill because of the sting of, or the bite of that snake or the scorpion. And this is physical, it's not mental. And he was cured. So the companions wanted to eat from the sheep, and the man said, by Allah, I did something, I'm not sure how valid it is. So we will not touch this until we go and seek the verdict from the Prophet ﷺ to approve or not. So when they went to the Prophet ﷺ and he told them that he recited only the Fatiha, the Prophet told him, and how did you know that it was a ruqyah? And the Prophet was wondering, because it is a ruqyah, but he did not tell them that it was a ruqyah. And the man did it out of his own thing. He thought that this is the best surah in the Quran, so definitely it has to have some powers in them. So the Prophet told them that he approved that, and he asked them for a portion of the sheep as well, just to give them an indication that it is completely permissible for them to consume and to eat from those sheep. So this is an indication that reciting the Quran cures and heals illnesses, whether mental or physical. But you have to know the proportion. We know that honey is an excellent cure for lots of diseases, but you have to take it in proportion. If you take too much of it, you may harm yourself, and if you take too little, you may not benefit out of it. So the doctors, the physicians, the experts should tell you what to do and when to do it. Likewise with the Quran. You have to know what to recite, how to recite it, and you have to have confidence in Allah. If you recite the Quran without believing, if you recite the Quran and saying, well, let's give it a try. If it works, okay. If it doesn't, I have the antibiotics, I can take them anytime. Then definitely this is not going to help or cure you, because you do not do it with conviction and belief.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Got a couple of questions from my brother regarding the aqiqah. For a child born, he wants to know, when it's a female child and a male child, what's the actual difference when it comes to doing the aqiqah? Is there actually any main differences?
The difference is in the number of sheep to be sacrificed and slaughtered. For a male child, a newborn baby, boy, we're told to slaughter 2 sheep. And for a female baby born child, we're told to slaughter 1 sheep. And this is the only difference between them.
Nothing at all, nothing regarding any celebrations or something?
No, nothing. They're all equal.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, I've got a question here regarding the keeping the high Islamic spirit. Regarding somebody's iman, is it something that somebody is going to have to work on 24 hours a day? The brother says, sometimes I feel it's up, sometimes I feel it's down, but I always want to keep it to the highest level, keep in my highest spirits, but I'm finding it very difficult. Is it something that you can do, Sheikh? Is it possible to keep it at such a level, a very high level, Sheikh?
No, the answer is not. Unfortunately, you cannot keep it at the highest standard possible, otherwise you'd have turned into an angel. But you can try, and this is what you're supposed to do. You're not requested or instructed to keep it at the highest level, but you're instructed to try and elevate this. In Sahih Muslim, it was reported that Hanzala, may Allah be pleased with him, Hanzala al-Asadi, is different than Hanzala ibn Amr, the one who was washed by the angels. Hanzala al-Asadi, may Allah be pleased with him, met Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, told him, Hanzala, what's happening? So Hanzala said, I have become a hypocrite. Abu Bakr was shocked. So he said, why do you say this? He said, well, when I'm with the Prophet ﷺ, our spirit is so high that, the sky is only the limit. But the minute we go back to our children and wives and to our farms, and we sit with them and we laugh with them, our hearts are not the same. So definitely this is hypocrisy. So Abu Bakr said, by Allah, this is exactly what I'm also facing. Let's go to the Prophet ﷺ and seek his guidance. So they go to the Prophet ﷺ and tell them, O Prophet of Allah, listen to what Hanzala has to say. So the Prophet says, Hanzala, what's going on? So he tells them the same thing. O Prophet of Allah, when we're with you, our spirits is so high. Our spirits are so high to the extent that we feel that we are ruling the world. But the minute we go back to our children and wives, to our farms and trade, we seem to not identify with our hearts. So the Prophet told them, ﷺ, by Allah, if you were with your children and wives and in your trade and farms like you are with me here all the time, the angels would have shaken hands with you in the streets of Medina. You would seen them, because you would have reached a level of iman and belief that you don't have to not see the unseen. You will see the unseen. But Hanzala, an hour here and an hour there, which means that an hour for your faith, your worship, getting closer to Allah, an hour to refresh yourself with things that takes you away a bit from concentrating on doing good things. Not on sin, of course. Nowadays people say, an hour for your Lord, an hour for your Satan. The Prophet said, an hour for your Lord and an hour for your heart. So you can play sports, you can read something, you can watch the news, you can go and shop. You don't have to fix yourself and limit yourself 24 hours, 7 days a week for forms of worship that is only prayer and fasting. You can have a variety of things that would help you and support you to worship Allah the best way possible.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Brother here, Brother Moeed, has a question regarding finding work. He's been looking for work for quite a long time, he says. He's finding it difficult. He says, is there any supplication from the Quran or the Sunnah that I should recite, or anything I should do so I can get a job?
I get a lot of questions like this, and a lot of the brothers say, is there in a particular dua to get a good wife? And a lot of the sisters say, is there a particular dua to get a good husband? Another one says, is there a particular dua to pass my exams or to get my internship or whatever? And the answer is no. There is not a specific dua that you could say for this particular thing. And there isn't any manual that says, well, go for page 14. If you want to buy a new car, do this. But if you want to buy a second-hand car, go to page 16 and supplicate. There isn't anything like this. There is, however, a connection between you and Allah that is never interrupted. And ask Allah. So if, for example, the brother could not find a job, when you prostrate in prayer, say, oh Allah the Almighty, grant me a decent job. When you are praying night prayer, just minutes or hours before Fajr breaks, Fajr Adhan, you raise your hands, face the Qibla, say Alhamdulillah, give prayer to the Prophet, Allahumma salli wa sallim alayhi, and then say, oh Allah, grant me a decent job that has a good salary, that would make me happy and able to support my family without needing any of your servants. Supplicate. Whatever you want, just supplicate. There is a connection between you and Allah, and this connection is not interrupted, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. The next question is one that we do get frequently on Ask Huda, regarding travelling with somebody you're not actually a mahram to, or you're not a mahram and you're the woman. But there's a twist to this one, and this is the twist that unfortunately we see spread in society. The sister here says, but I'm engaged to this guy. I mean, I've gone to the family, we've passed rings now, we've given exchange of gifts. So there's some close bond here. Am I still allowed to to go traveling with him? Am I allowed to go to restaurants with him? Am I allowed to go for walks with him?
Well, at the end of the day, how would you classify this man? In Islam, we have a man who is a stranger to a woman, or he is her husband. There isn't a status in between. So a fiancé is still a stranger, because if he changes his mind and he leaves, there are no obligations on him. No one would say, you have to pay this, you have to do this. He's a stranger. So even if they exchange rings, and this is an innovation, again, this is not Islamic. And he is still a foreigner he's a foreigner, not in nationality, he's a stranger to this woman, he is not her mahram, she could not go out with him, she could not touch him, she should not even exchange phone calls with him, even if he is her fiancé and they're about to get married next month. Until the marriage contract is written, he is still a stranger to her.
Can she have meetings with him, say with her parents present and so forth?
No, she cannot.
Nothing?
No. The only meeting she is allowed to have with him is when he comes to see her and she sees him, the first engagement. So if they have mutual approval, alhamdulillah, and they're engaged in the sense that they are not married yet, but they have a preliminary engagement.
A promise to get married.
Yeah, they're still strangers. Until the marriage contract is done, they are still strangers.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, we're going to take a short break and inshallah return in a couple of minutes. Please stay with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. Learning how to recite the Quran properly, learning the meaning of what we recite, including the ahkam from the verses which we recite, trying to implement what we learn in our daily life. We'll listen to the participants and the guests. We'll take your phone calls. We're going to recite live. We'll listen to your recitation and we'll correct it according to the rules and regulations which we'll state in each episode. Now your dream will come true.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Ask Huda. This episode of Ask Huda, if you've just joined us, is one where we go through all your email questions as much as possible. So please don't call us today. We won't be able to entertain those calls today. If you want to send an email to us, send us an email at ask@huda.tv. Sheikh, I've got a couple of questions from Brother Abdus Salam, who's living in Tunisia. He wants to know, is it permissible for a Muslim to work within the government in the collecting of taxes and duties from people?
The answer would be no, it is not permissible for a person to work in an agency that collects taxes from people, because taxation is forbidden in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, when he was brought up with an adulteress and she was stoned to death after she confessed and she sought the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jal so that she would be purified, and one of the companions said something bad about her, the Prophet said ﷺ, do not say that about her, because she had repented a repentance that even if a person taking taxes from the people repented it, Allah Azza wa Jal would have forgiven him. So the Prophet is telling us that what a person doing or taking taxes is far greater than this what the adulteress did, because he is taking something that is not lawfully his. Therefore, if a person works in an institution or an agency that takes taxes from people, from Muslims, this is completely forbidden. But if he works in the customs, in the sense that he is monitoring goods that is coming and preventing bad things from coming into the country, such as drugs or alcohol or pornography or whatever, then his work is permissible.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Brother Anas has a question for us. It's regarding celebrating the beginning of the Islamic New Year. Many people do it, many countries make it into a celebration. Is this something that Muslims should follow?
I believe, and I think that you also believe, that Muslims should only follow the Quran and Sunnah. So if celebrating the New Year is in the Quran or in the Sunnah, if the Prophet did it, ﷺ, if his companions did it, may Allah be pleased with them, then yes, we should celebrate. Why not? This is something to be celebrated with. But if they did not celebrate the new year, which it didn't, then by us celebrating, we would be innovating in Islam. And this would divert us from the straight path of Islam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, we've got a question here from Brother Bello from Nigeria. It's an interesting question because in the present time that we live, Muslims are under quite a lot of stress in different parts of the world, different types of oppression, whether it's physical or from the media itself. So some people are afraid of their Islam, to look like a Muslim, to walk and talk, to do the Islamic rituals and so forth. He says when somebody is like this and they want to hide their Islam in front of the people, that may mean they don't want to look like a Muslim, they don't even want to say the Islamic sayings, they won't even pray sometimes while they're at work to hide their Islam. Is this allowed for them to do, Sheikh?
Well, I don't think it reaches this extreme, but if a person would reach that, there is a possibility that he may nullify Islam without knowing. He would nullify his Islam. I don't think it should even reach that limit. It's only from shaitan, who is whispering in their ears and intimidating them, making them feel vulnerable, weak, humiliated because of their religion. And this is exactly what he wants, that people neglect their Islam, try to hide their identity. I've been to lots of countries of the world, and alhamdulillah, people are practicing Islam more than they are practicing it in the Arab world, in the Gulf countries, for example. Only a couple of months ago, I was in a visit to Birmingham in the UK, and I was astonished when I saw the brothers there wearing thobes, who were British, born British, from British parents. And they're practicing their religion, and they are highly successful in their jobs, and they are beneficial to their community, and they have no remorse or no shame of their identity. They are proud to say we're Muslims with a very big smile. I've been to countries in Europe, and no one does anything to you if you are a law-abiding citizen. If you're not violating the law, everybody respects you. They respect you for what you believe, and they respect you for being a good citizen. So by trying to hide your identity, by skipping prayers so that people will not know that you're a Muslim, this may nullify your Islam.
So it's a very critical situation. Barakallah fiqh, Sheikh. Okay, I've got a question here regarding predestination, Sheikh. The brother says that I've heard that it can be changed. Your decree can be changed. If yes, how? And how does it go against the Quran and Sunnah? Because there's so many proofs that need to be reconciled here.
Okay, first of all, we have to know that Allah Azza wa Jal had the destiny of people written 50,000 years before He created the creations. And this was stated in an authentic hadith by the Prophet ﷺ. And having said that, Allah Azza wa Jal's knowledge is not like ours. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future, and what did not or will not happen in the future, how will it be if it would be materialized in the future. So it's definitely not like our knowledge. And there are certain actions that would affect the things that happen in our lives. But this has nothing to do with the predestined things that Allah Azza wa Jal had written. In the sense that there is something that is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, in the preserved tablet, which will never change.
So, you know, when you speak about these items, sometimes people, we do get emails, people, they don't actually have real belief that these things exist. I mean, these are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, things which we have to have belief in.
This is in the Quran. People who do not believe in this, they're not Muslims. When someone says, yeah, listen, angels are not there, it's just light, and, you know, and Satans are not there, it's just viruses that kill people and so on. This is blasphemy. This person is not believing in Allah.
So the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, is a tablet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, like you're saying now. It's not something that people can turn around and say, no, these are just metaphoric kind of symbols.
Of course it is. Because Allah says, Azza wa Jal, that it is in the preserved tablet, Lawh al-Mahfuz. So this is only Allah Azza wa Jal knows what's in it. And there's another tablet that the angels have. And this is in the lower heavens. And the angels look at it and they make the things that Allah Azza wa Jal tells them to do as written in it. So for example, if it says that in this book that the angels have, that Jamil should live for only 55 years. And you have a long time for that. But let's assume that you have 55 years of age. This is your deadline. And this is what the angels see. But Allah Azza wa Jal in His preserved tablet had written that, and this is what the Prophet told us, ﷺ, that whoever connects to the next of kin, Allah Azza wa Jal will prolong his life and will increase in his rizq, in his provision. So if you do this and you go and visit your uncles and aunts and cousins and keep connecting to them and trying to help them, Allah Azza wa Jal will instruct the angels to increase the lifespan of Jamil from 55 to 60. Now, this changes with the book that the angels have. But the preserved tablet that Allah Azza wa Jal only is the only one who knows what's in it, it is written in it that the lifespan of Jamil is 55 years, but because he is connecting to the next of kin and he is being kind to his relatives, he will be given 5 extra years. So the preserved tablet is there. It's preserved. It is unchangeable. But the tablet that the angels have, and they run the universe in accordance to Allah's instructions, this may vary and may change.
So Allah's knowledge is all-encompassing. It's all
Yes.
in there. Barakallah fiqh, Shaykh. Okay, Brother Irshad has a question regarding the area that a woman can show in front of her husband and her children. So the awrab. There's a difference of opinion, he's saying, but he wants to make it clear. What is the part of the body the woman can show her husband and her children, and then also that she can show to her mahram, for example, her uncles, and that she can show her friends, her sisters in Islam?
Well, the husband is a different story, because the husband, the wife can show him her body. So there's nothing that she can conceive from him. He could see from her whatever appeals to him, and she could see from him whatever appeals to her. They are man and wife. As for the children, they should not be exposed to things that would arise their attention. Because Allah Azza wa Jal, as mentioned in Surah An-Nur, we are told that they should seek permission to enter our private chambers, the children, in 3 times. And Allah states that this is before Fajr, and when we go to the noon nap, and after Isha. So after Isha until before Fajr, usually people are dressing in light and dresses or nightgowns or whatever. So children should not enter without seeking permission or approval to enter, so that people are ready. All in all, a woman should not expose her body to her friends, female friends, or to her mahram relatives, except to the things that it is usual. And that is, she may show her arms, but not her shoulders, upper shoulder. She may show her neck and an area below it, but not her cleavage, or show things that may cause temptation. She may show her legs, but not above the knees, because then this would cause temptation and may lead to something that is not good. She may not show her back, as a lot of the women tend to wear night dresses like this. All of this is haram, and she should conceive and she should hide this except from her husband.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, we've got a question from Sister Julie. She says, is it permissible to read the Arabic Quran without wudu? Something that we always go into, but she wants to explain further. She says that when I'm in my menses, for example, I'm not able to make wudu, so that's when I can't pick up this Quran.
Well, the majority of scholars say that it is not permissible for a Muslim to hold the Quran when he is not on or in the state of purity, major and minor, which means that if I want to recite the Quran, I have to perform wudu. This is the verdict of the majority of scholars. But if you hold the Quran or the copy of the Quran and not hold the actual letters, some scholars said that this is permissible because you're not holding it. You're not holding the Quran, you're holding the outer cover and you're holding the edges of the pages. What you're not allowed to touch is the writing itself, the letters themselves. This is not permissible for you to do. But we have a way out, and that is, alhamdulillah, nowadays you have a copy of the Holy Quran on your PDA. You have a copy of the Holy Quran on your laptop, on your desktop. You can recite or read the Quran from a commentary, because the Arabic text is like 30% of the whole book. So it does not take the same ruling as a copy of the Quran. So therefore, there is a way out, alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, I've got a question here regarding ghusl, Sheikh. The brother's asking, what are the exact requirements for the ghusl to be accepted, and under what conditions do we have to perform ghusl?
Well, what do you mean by conditions?
For example, some people say that ghusl should be done on Jummah because the Prophet said so.
Okay.
Some say you have to do it on major purification. Some say, well, actually, you can do it even if you've got minor as a form of sunnah.
Okay. Well, actually, we are obliged to make ghusl when we are in the state of major impurity, whether due to sexual intercourse or nocturnal emission, to ejaculation, or to when a woman finishes her menstruation and she's pure, she wants to get ready to pray, or after post-bleeding, post-birth bleeding, and this stops, she is obliged to make ghusl. And there are cases that it is highly recommended that you perform ghusl, such as before Friday sermon, Friday khutbah, and also before Eid, before going for Umrah or Hajj, when you want to perform, to be in the state of Ihram. All of this is highly recommended, but it's not mandatory, it's not obligatory. How does a person perform total bath or ghusl? It is enough to dip yourself in water and come out, washing every part of your body, plus running the water in your mouth and sniffing the water up your nostrils and getting it out. This, by doing this with the intention, you would have performed ghusl. Therefore, a shower does the job. Taking a bath in a very big pool, so that it would not be stained or whatever, polluted with it, in an ocean, in a sea, in a river, whatever. And this would suffice, but this is not the sunnah. There is a format where the Prophet taught us ﷺ how to perform ghusl, and that is to wash your hands thrice, wash your private parts, then wash your hands again, whether with soap or with dirt or whatever, things that cleans your hands, and then perform wudu, normal wudu. Then throw or wash your head 3 times until you are certain that the water had reached the roots of your hair, the skull, and then wash the right side of your body, and then wash the left side of your body, and then wash your feet, and that is it. By this you've accomplished the ghusl, which is in accordance to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. I've got another question here from Brother Umaid regarding Islamic banking. Now, we did speak about Islamic banking before. He says some places in the West, the Islamic banks even give you interest. Unfortunately, he says he's not sure about this interest. So what do we do? I mean, this interest, do we have to treat it the same way we use it in a normal non-Islamic bank, which we give it away without seeking any reward?
Well, actually, I believe that these Islamic banks should have an Islamic committee of scholars who would look into the transactions of this particular bank. And usually speaking, that, generally speaking that is, these banks give profit, not interest, in the sense that when you deposit your money, they tell you that we are going to engage in transactions that are completely halal, and we would also give you a profit. But this profit is not fixed, and there is a room of a possibility that we may lose. So it's a gain and loss concept that is there, but 99% we're not going to lose, because we're going to invest in low risk investments and we're going to get like 2%, 3% profit, and it fluctuates, it differs. So we give you every month in accordance to what profit we made. This is acceptable, and it's okay and permissible for you to consume and use this money.
But what if you find that it's not that? Do you still have to take away that money, that interest that you get then?
If it's not Islamic, definitely. You have to take the interest and give it away and get rid of it in means of charity.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, the last question for the day. Brother Barry from Canada is a question regarding working in a restaurant. Working in a restaurant where they sell alcohol and they deal with pork. Is a Muslim allowed to work in this kind of environment, Sheikh?
The answer would be no, because his income would be a result of selling pork and alcohol, or from serving pork and alcohol, and this is a major sin, and it's not permissible for him to do this.
Okay, well, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for all your answers today. Well, that's all the questions and answers we have for you today on Ask Huda. Please, if you want to send us a question, even if it's a detailed question, do so towards ask@huda.tv. Well, until next time, we'll leave you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.